Nope.
Troops, I saw a barrier. Today, we'll be talking about Update 43 for Foxhole. This update expands both factions' arsenals, adding on to the Small Arms update, as well as giving each faction a new toy in the form of a tank for each. Let's get started with the weapons. First up, submachine guns. The Colonials receive the Lion Claw, Mark 8. It's a heavier, modern variation of the pitch gun. The Lion Claw performs well as a decent all-around submachine gun, and is designed as a primary firearm for urban combat and close quarters. The Wardens receive the number 1, the Liar, submachine gun. It's a uniquely heavy-duty submachine gun, and isn't as great on the run, but with careful aim and adequate cover becomes a razor blade in the night. Moving up to assault rifles, the Colonials receive the Dusk. This unique assault rifle includes a high-capacity drum magazine, designed for sustained, rapid fire. While the Wardens get the Booker Storm Rifle, Model 838. The Booker is a high-impact 3-round burst storm rifle, for those who like to shoot first and ask questions later. There's also 2 new special types of explosives. The Colonials receive the Hydra's Whisper. It's a demolition tool, a metal tube packed with explosives designed specifically for taking out obstacles such as tank traps, mines, and barbed wire. The engineers will be able to blow right through defensive lines as long as they've got suppressing fire. The Wardens, on the other hand, having to deal with so many Colonial tanks, have now received the BF5 White Ash Flask Grenade. Take it for personal experience. Don't drink whatever's in here, because it does explosive damage against enemy armor. This molten flash grenade can be lobbed at a medium range at enemy armor, and does significant amount of damage, similar to a sticky bomb. Now for the vehicles. The Colonials receive an assault tank, known as the 85K-A Spatha. This is an upgraded version of the Falchion, features a high-velocity 40mm gun turret, and additional armor plating. It's not as well suited to mass production as the base Falchion, but it certainly packs a heavier punch, and in return can take a bit more damage too. The Wardens receive the Noble Widow, Mark 14. This is a tank destroyer. It specializes in ambush tactics, waiting for its prey and striking with its destructive high-velocity 68mm shell. This thing is slow. It doesn't have a turret that can turn 360 degrees, but it packs a punch, and it can take quite a few punches as well. But its low speed might be its biggest weakness. Some gameplay changes include fire pits can now be built at seaports, so that we can actually defrost water vehicles. Radio backpack transmit functions now only works when the trooper is standing on a landscape or a structure. It will not work on barges or rocks or other environmental objects. A dedicated key was added for dropping large items. This defaults to V, but it can be remapped. The default key for callouts has changed to H, and the default key for transmit has changed to J. Ammunition rooms now provide a power connection and can be built inside storm cannon grids. Landing ships are now reservable at storage depots and seaports. Frontier bases have been removed. Note that border bases are now the new standard way of gaining a foothold across contested borders. Seaport AI now require the same base upgrades as other garrison houses before it can fire on enemies. Some balances include storage depots and seaports inside logistics towns now start with 30 instead of 10 trucks at the start of Conquest. All medical equipment such as field hospitals, bandages, first aid kits, and trauma kits no longer require tech at the beginning of a war. These will be automatically unlocked. All assault rifle class weapon production times have been reduced by 20%. There's been improvements to the shotgun's abilities to hit target at point blank range. Not sure that's really going to increase their use, but alright, sure. All LUV variants for both factions have had their damage mitigation against small arms drastically reduced, but their health increased by between 125 and 180% to account for it. The devs note that this was to resolve an issue that was made in Update 42, which caused them to have basically tank level mitigation against light kinetic weapons, which was kind of dumb. All mortars, whether they be mounted in vehicles or carried by infantry, have all had their long-range accuracy increased by 30%. Green ash crate size has been reduced from 20 down to 10. The infantry support gun has had its rate of fire decreased by an overall 75%. Gun turrets and AT garrisons will now counterattack deployed tripod weapons. The mounted Bonesaw Mark III has had its rate of fire increased by an overall 75%. The Altostome Rifle 24 has had its range reduced by 10%. The Silverhand Mark IV 40mm gun rate of fire has increased by 15%. The HHD Peltist rate of fire has decreased by 20%. The Devic Kane Mark IV MMR, which is the Warden's mortar tank, has had its rate of fire increased by 25%. That still puts it slightly slower than the Colonial's mortar half-track, the Peltist. The Devitt Kane Mark IV cost has been reduced from 180 to 150 refined materials. The field AT gun for both factions have had their rate of fire increased by 13%. The war achievements have been updated as follows. For major offensive, you have to hold 75 instead of 80% of the zones at some point in the war. For offensive, you need to hold more than 60 rather than 65% of the zones at some point in the war. For hold the line, you need to survive for longer than 1 day when your faction holds less than 25% of all zones instead of 20. Last stand, you need to survive for longer than 2 days when your faction holds less than 25% instead of 20% of all zones. And for fortified, you need to survive for longer than 4 days when your faction has less than 40% instead of the 45. Some changes to the maps include new land masses have been added to Fisherman's Row, Tempest Island, and Stone Cradle. New map layers have been added to several logistics hubs to support a larger variety of starting conditions, and the North Pole in the Moors has been updated. Other changes include squad and regiments now have their own map posts. So aside from regular map posts, you can now make map posts specifically for your squad or your regiment, and they will only be viewed by people in your squad or your regiment. Frame rate can now be customized on the options screen, allowing from greater than 60 Hz. Offline characters in the F1 player screen can now be reported once again. The Shard Selector UI has had some changes. Stockpile logs now support shippable structures. Added some animation interpolation to help smooth turret rotation and crane rotation and other such situations. The map screen has been optimized so that the frame rate is now more consistent. Optimization to region travel has been implemented to prevent network stalls during large war starts, and overall improvements to the trench and bunker interactions with the landscape, resulting in drastically less chances of holes appearing through the world. There were some bug fixes along with this update, but I'll save that for the patch notes down below. Alright, frontline troopers, you tell me, what's your new favorite weapon? Infantry weapons or tanks? Either or. If you like what you saw in this video, like, share, and subscribe. And be sure to give this to all the assault troopers out there. They're going to want to get their hands on these weapons first. And as always, good luck, keep your heads down, and stay in your foxholes. Bear out.